Born on January 30th, 1939, in Mariquita, a town in Colombia's Tolima region, Gilberto Rodríguez Orejuela grew up in a relatively modest family. His parents, who worked in agriculture, struggled financially, which shaped much of his early ambitions and perspectives on wealth. Gilberto was the oldest of 6 children, including his brother Miguel Rodríguez Orejuela, with whom he would later form one of the most powerful criminal organizations in the world. The Rodríguez family eventually moved to Cali, a bustling city that provided a stark contrast to their rural upbringing. Cali, known for its vibrancy and thriving commercial sector, became a melting pot of opportunities for those with ambition. Gilberto's early exposure to city life sparked a determination to achieve financial success. As a young man, he attended school, but his education was cut short due to his family's financial difficulties, forcing him to seek alternative routes to wealth. Gilberto's first brush with crime was small-scale and somewhat conventional in nature. He entered into illegal activities through smuggling, initially focusing on consumer goods. In the 1960s, Colombia was ripe for contraband operations, with black markets flourishing in cities like Cali. Gilberto and his younger brother Miguel quickly realized that smuggling consumer goods like cigarettes and appliances could generate substantial profits with minimal risk. However, it wasn't long before the brothers' ambitions outgrew the relatively low-profit smuggling game. They began looking for more lucrative ventures, which eventually led them to cocaine, an emerging drug in the international market. The 1970s were a pivotal time for the cocaine trade, as Colombian traffickers were realizing the potential of exporting the drug to North America and Europe. Seeing the immense profitability in the drug business, Gilberto transitioned from smuggling goods to smuggling cocaine. Gilberto Rodríguez Orejuela, alongside his brother Miguel and José Santa Cruz Londoño, founded what would later become the infamous Cali Cartel in the early 1970s. Unlike the Medellín Cartel, led by the brutal and flamboyant Pablo Escobar, the Cali Cartel sought to maintain a lower profile. This subtle difference in approach was a hallmark of Gilberto's strategic thinking. He understood that staying in the shadows was key to long-term survival and profitability. While Escobar waged a violent war against the Colombian government, law enforcement and rival cartels, the Rodríguez brothers cultivated a more sophisticated and corporate approach. They expanded their operations by forming alliances with corrupt politicians, police officers, and international traffickers. This strategy was effective, allowing them to grow their empire under the radar while their Medellín counterparts garnered global headlines for their violent escapades. The 1980s saw the rise of cocaine as a dominant drug on the international scene, and the Cali Cartel was positioned to capitalize on this boom. While the Medellín Cartel, under Pablo Escobar, controlled the vast majority of cocaine entering the United States, the Cali Cartel gradually expanded its influence. Gilberto Rodríguez Orejuela, known for his diplomatic and strategic approach, made key alliances with Mexican drug cartels and European traffickers to expand his empire. The Cali Cartel's modus operandi was significantly more refined than the Medellín cartels. While Escobar embraced violence and intimidation, Gilberto and his cartel opted for bribes, corruption, and subtle coercion. They infiltrated Colombian society at every level, establishing contacts within the judiciary, law enforcement, and even the political elite. This approach earned them the nickname Los Caballeros de Cali, or the Gentlemen of Cali. By the late 1980s, the Cali Cartel controlled up to 80% of the world's cocaine market. They employed sophisticated smuggling techniques, utilizing hidden compartments in vehicles, planes, and even submarines. Their distribution network spanned from Colombia to Mexico, the United States, and Europe. Gilberto Rodríguez Orejuela's strategic brilliance ensured that his cartel operated like a well-oiled machine, raking in billions of dollars annually. The rivalry between the Cali Cartel and the Medellín Cartel is one of the most significant chapters in the history of Colombian drug trafficking. While both organizations were involved in the same business, their methods and ideologies were vastly different. Pablo Escobar's Medellín Cartel was known for its brutality and overt violence, while the Cali Cartel, under Gilberto's leadership, preferred a more subtle approach. The two cartels clashed repeatedly throughout the 1980s and early 1990s, engaging in a violent turf war. However, Gilberto Rodríguez Orejuela was always more interested in negotiations and diplomacy than open conflict. He used his vast network of contacts to broker deals with government officials, rival cartels, and foreign traffickers. While Escobar waged a bloody war against the Colombian government, Gilberto preferred to remain in the shadows, slowly chipping away at the Medellín cartel's dominance. The feud between the two cartels reached a boiling point in the early 1990s when the Cali Cartel formed alliances with the Colombian government and paramilitary groups to take down Escobar. Gilberto Rodríguez Orejuela, ever the pragmatist, saw an opportunity to eliminate his most dangerous rival while maintaining his cartel's power. The Colombian government, desperate to end Escobar's reign of terror, was willing to work with the Cali Cartel to achieve that goal. By 1993, with the help of the Cali Cartel, Escobar was killed and the Medellín Cartel crumbled. This victory allowed Gilberto and his associates to consolidate their control over the global cocaine trade, but it also put them in the crosshairs of international law enforcement. Despite their sophisticated operations, the Cali Cartel was not immune to mistakes and betrayals. The tide began to turn against them in the mid-1990s, when Colombian authorities, under pressure from the US government, ramped up efforts to dismantle the cartel. The DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration, played a crucial role in tracking the Rodríguez brothers and their associates. In 1995, following months of investigation, Gilberto Rodríguez Orejuela was arrested during a raid on one of his luxury residences in Cali. His capture marked the beginning of the end for the Cali Cartel. However, the story did not end there. In a dramatic turn of events, Gilberto managed to secure his release from prison by bribing officials and exploiting legal loopholes. This brief escape from justice only intensified the efforts to bring him down once and for all. Following his release, Gilberto attempted to maintain control of his empire, but the walls were closing in. His brother Miguel was arrested soon after, and their cartel began to crumble under the weight of law enforcement pressure and internal strife. The once mighty Cali Cartel, which had controlled the majority of the world's cocaine trade, was in shambles by the late 1990s. The final nail in the coffin for the Cali Cartel came in the late 1990s, when Colombian and US authorities joined forces to dismantle the organization once and for all. In 1995, after Gilberto's brief escape from custody, law enforcement intensified their efforts to bring him to justice. Under immense pressure from the US government, Colombian authorities prioritized the capture and prosecution of the Rodríguez brothers. In 1996, Gilberto was arrested once again, this time without any hope of securing his freedom through bribes. By now, the international community was closely watching Colombia's efforts to combat the drug trade, and any further corruption or manipulation of the legal system would have sparked outrage. The US, which had been instrumental in taking down the Medellín Cartel, was equally determined to see the fall of the Cali Cartel. Extradition to the United States was a significant fear for Colombian drug lords. In 2004, after years of legal battles, Gilberto Rodríguez Orejuela was finally extradited to the US, where he faced a slew of charges related to his drug trafficking activities. His brother Miguel was also extradited, marking the end of the Cali Cartel as a major force in the global drug trade. In 2006, Gilberto Rodríguez Orejuela pled guilty to multiple charges of drug trafficking and was sentenced to 30 years in a US federal prison. His guilty plea was part of a deal that allowed some of his family members to avoid prosecution and enabled him to keep a portion of his wealth. This plea deal was controversial, as many believed that it allowed him to escape harsher punishment and retain some of the benefits of his criminal empire. Gilberto's time in prison has been largely uneventful. Unlike his former rival, Pablo Escobar, who was killed in a dramatic shootout, Gilberto Rodríguez Orejuela's downfall was far more subdued. He quietly serves his sentence in a US prison, his empire dismantled, and his once vast power reduced to nothing. The man who once controlled the flow of billions of dollars of cocaine now spends his days in a cell, a far cry from the luxury and power he once enjoyed.